Number 1. Sonder. You walk past hundreds of people every single day, and your brain treats them like background characters, props in your story. But what if they're not? What if every single one of them is living a life as complex, as painful, and as full as yours right now, while you walk past without a second thought? This feeling has a name, Sonder. The moment you realize that every passerby has a life as vivid and complex as your own. Their own routines, their own fears, their own people they love, their own 3 a.m. moments they never talk about. Here's why Sonder is so rare. Your brain is running a resource optimization system at all times. Processing every stranger as a fully realized human being would require more cognitive bandwidth than your brain can sustain. So it doesn't. It simplifies. It backgrounds them. A 2026 report found that 73% of Gen Z adults feel lonely at least sometimes, despite being more digitally connected than any generation in history. The most connected generation ever. The loneliest generation ever. Sonder may be the antidote. The moment your brain actually sees other people as real, the loneliness briefly lifts. Because you realize you're not alone in being overwhelmed. Everyone walking past you is fighting something invisible.
Biscuit experiences reverse Sonder. He thinks every human exists specifically to pet him. To be fair, he's not entirely wrong about me.
Number 2. Limerence. That person you couldn't stop thinking about. Every notification you checked hoping it was them. Every conversation you replayed. Every small sign you analyzed for hours. You probably called it a crush. Science calls it something completely different. And once you understand what's actually happening in your brain, you'll never see it the same way again. That was limerence, an involuntary state of obsessive romantic fixation first identified by psychologist Dorothy Tenoff in the 1970s. Here's what's actually happening neurologically. Your brain's mesolimbic dopamine pathway, the same system activated by gambling and addiction, gets hijacked by one person. Dopamine doesn't create pleasure, it creates wanting. And uncertainty supercharges it. The person who replies inconsistently feels more intoxicating than someone stable and available, because your reward system goes haywire trying to predict the next hit. A book published February 2026, Smitten, Romantic Obsession, The Neuroscience of Limerence, confirmed that limerence suppresses serotonin to levels indistinguishable from OCD patients. Your evaluative circuitry goes quiet. Your skepticism softens. You're not foolish for falling into limerence. You are neurologically compromised. The brain has tagged this person as a survival level resource and deployed every chemical weapon it has to keep them. You don't keep thinking about them because they're special. You keep thinking about them because your brain's interrupt mechanism has been pharmacologically hijacked.
Biscuit experiences limerence toward the neighbor's cat. The cat has never acknowledged his existence. He checks the window every morning anyway. Classic variable reinforcement schedule.
Number 3. Kairos. You're in a perfect moment. Great dinner, people you love, music that fits exactly. And then your brain does something cruel. It reminds you that this will end. Not later, right now, while you're still in it. Most people have never had a name for this, but it's one of the most human experiences that exists. Kairos. The hardening of the moment. Your awareness calcifying around happiness so tightly that it starts to suffocate the happiness itself. Neuroscience calls this anticipatory loss, and it activates the same neural pathways as actual grief. Your brain processes the future loss of a present moment as a real current threat. The more you love something, the earlier your brain starts mourning it. A February 2026 paper in Frontiers in Psychology on Metacognition confirmed that the brain's monitoring system, the part that watches your own thoughts, can actually interfere with emotional experience when it becomes overactive. The cruel paradox: the people who experience kairos most intensely are the ones who feel it the most deeply. You're not ruining the moment. Your brain is trying to hold it so hard it's crushing it. The solution neuroscientists suggest: redirect attention from the feeling to the moment. Stop watching yourself feel, just feel.
Biscuit has never experienced kairos once. Every walk is the best walk. Every meal is the best meal. Zero anticipatory grief. Pure presence. I study him like a textbook.
Number 4. Kenopsia. Walking into your school after hours, an empty shopping mall just before closing, an airport at 3 a.m., a fairground with no one in it. The feeling isn't just emptiness, it's something darker. Like the place is haunted by everyone who should be there, but isn't. You felt this. Now you know what it's called. Kenopsia. The eerie atmosphere of a place that's usually full of people, now abandoned and quiet. An emotional after-image. The space feels not just empty, but hyper-empty. Here's the neuroscience. Your brain stores memories of places combined with the emotional weight of who was there. When you return and the people are gone, your brain plays back the emotional memory of fullness against the current reality of emptiness. That contrast creates kenopsia, a ghost made of missing people. Kenopsia connects directly to the psychological phenomenon of liminality, spaces caught between what they were and what they are now. During COVID, when entire cities went silent, hundreds of millions of people felt kenopsia simultaneously for the first time. Empty streets that usually hold thousands, playgrounds with no children, airports with no travelers, the collective kenopsia of an entire civilization. Researchers noted it triggered measurable anxiety responses because the brain interprets the absence of expected social stimuli as a threat signal. The silence isn't peaceful, it's a warning.
Biscuit feels kenopsia when I leave the house, moves to my chair, sits in my spot, stares at the door. That one actually got me.
Number 5. The Proust effect. You walk past a bakery, and without warning, you're not here anymore. You're somewhere else entirely. A specific afternoon, a specific kitchen, a specific feeling that you haven't touched in years. You're not remembering it. You're inside it. This is the most powerful memory system in the human brain, and it bypasses your conscious mind completely. The Proust effect, named after French writer Marcel Proust, who described in 1913 how the smell of a tea-soaked biscuit transported him instantly and completely back to his childhood. Science spent the next century proving he was right. Here's why smell is different from every other sense. Sight, sound, touch, all travel through the thalamus first. Brain's relay station gets filtered before reaching emotion. Smell bypasses this entirely, goes directly to the amygdala and hippocampus, the raw emotional memory centers. No filter, no processing, straight to the feeling. A 2024 paper in Frontiers in Psychology confirmed that odor-evoked memories are more emotional, more vivid, and more personally significant than memories triggered by any other sense. And here's the part that will change how you think about your childhood smells. Odor-evoked memories accompanied by positive emotions have measurable effects on immune system function. The smell that takes you back to safety literally strengthens your body. Your grandmother's kitchen is medicine, and negative smells, smoke, hospitals, a specific perfume hit differently because they bypass every filter and land directly in the raw memory. That's not weakness, that's the most honest part of your brain.
Biscuit smells everything, every lamppost, every patch of grass. He's reading the emotional history of every creature that passed. He has more memories per walk than I have in a year.
Number 6. Monocopsis. You're at a party, surrounded by people. Everyone seems to be having a great time, and you feel off. Not sad exactly, not anxious, just wrong. Like you arrived in the right place as the wrong person. You've probably spent years thinking this was a personal flaw. It isn't. Monocopsis. The subtle but persistent feeling of being out of place, not quite belonging even when surrounded by others. Out of sync with the people or environment around you. This is not a personal failure. It's one of the most universal human experiences. And it's getting worse, not better. A 2026 loneliness report found that 80% of Gen Z reported feeling lonely in the past 12 months, compared to just 45% of baby boomers, not from being alone, but from being surrounded by people they can't genuinely connect with. Monocopsis in the loudest rooms. The data also showed that online-only friendships leave 58% of people dissatisfied. The connections exist, but the belonging doesn't transfer. The people who feel monocopsis most intensely tend to have the highest emotional intelligence. You feel the difference between surface connection and real connection more acutely than most. That's not a defect, that's calibration.
Biscuit has never felt monocopsis. He belongs everywhere, immediately, without invitation. No anxiety, No calibration, just, I'm here now. This is mine.
Number 7. Jouska. You're in the shower, and suddenly you're having a full argument with someone who isn't there. You're saying all the right things, making every point perfectly, winning completely. Or you're rehearsing a conversation that hasn't happened yet, running every version, every possible way it could go wrong. Your brain does this constantly, and there's a reason it can't stop. Jouska, the hypothetical conversation you compulsively play out in your head, rehearsing, replaying, rewriting. Research on rumination shows the average person spends up to 47% of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they're actually doing. A significant portion of that, imaginary conversations that will never happen exactly as imagined. Social conflict activates the same threat response as physical danger. Your brain rehearses conversations the same way it rehearses escape routes, trying to reduce uncertainty and maximize survival in social situations. The problem, your brain cannot distinguish between rehearsal and reality. Every jouska fires real stress hormones, real cortisol, real anxiety, for a conversation that exists only in your head. The more important the relationship, the more obsessively your brain rehearses interactions with that person. You're not overthinking. Your brain is running threat assessment on the people it can't afford to lose.
Biscuit has never had a jouska. He just barks. Directly, at the thing, immediately. Honestly, the healthiest communication strategy I've ever witnessed.
Number 8. Liberosis. You're lying awake at 2 a.m. replaying something from 3 years ago that nobody else remembers. Worrying about something that hasn't happened, carrying something that isn't yours to carry, and somewhere in your brain there's a quiet voice that just wants to let go of all of it. This feeling has a name, and you've been fighting it your whole life thinking it was weakness, liberosis, the desire to care less about things, to loosen your grip on your life, to stop glancing behind you every few steps afraid someone will snatch it before you reach the end zone. We live in a culture that rewards caring deeply, working hard, taking everything seriously. Liberosis is your emotional immune response, your nervous system recognizing that the weight it's carrying exceeds what any human system was designed to hold. A 2025 APA Work in America survey found that nearly half of US workers reported chronic stress driven by economic uncertainty, political polarization, and organizational instability. The same report noted that the people reporting highest stress levels were consistently those with the strongest sense of responsibility and care for outcomes. Liberosis is not laziness, it's not apathy, it's your nervous system asking for permission to exist without performing. The people who feel liberosis most intensely are almost always the ones who care the most. That's the painful irony of caring too much.
Biscuit achieved liberosis at birth. Cares about exactly 3 things: food, walks, warmth. In that order. 0 negotiations, 0 chronic stress. Optimal.
Number 9. Existential tenderness. Okay, this one is personal. I've felt this my entire life and never had a word for it until recently. I'll be somewhere, a restaurant, an airport, anywhere, and I'll watch someone eat, a stranger, and something shifts. This wave of tenderness, almost sadness, not for them specifically, for all of us, for the fact that every human being on this planet, every powerful person, every confident person, every person who seems to have it all figured out, has to eat to survive, has to sleep, has to keep going, just like me, just like you. I genuinely want to know, does anyone else feel this? Drop a comment below. Is this just me? Turns out, this feeling is real, and it has a name. Existential tenderness. The moment you see another person in their most basic biological state and feel overwhelming love for the fragile fact that they exist. Here's the neuroscience. When you watch someone eat, your brain bypasses every social filter, every role, every status, every mask this person wears, and sees something underneath. A biological creature that needs food to survive, just like every animal, just like you. A December 2025 study published in Nature confirmed the discovery of hidden brain maps that make empathy physically felt. When you observe another person, your brain creates a physical simulation of their experience in your own body. You don't just watch someone eat, you partially experience it. The insula activates, your mirror neuron system fires. For a fraction of a second, You and the stranger eating across the room share the same neurological state. This is why it works with strangers too. The feeling isn't about who they are, it's about what they are, what we all are, briefly, vulnerably, beautifully alive.
Watching Biscuit eat is peak existential tenderness. This small creature who trusts the world completely, just eating, just existing, gets me every time.
Number 10. Existential awareness. You're doing something completely normal, making coffee, sitting on the bus, looking at your own hand, and then without warning, something shifts. You become suddenly overwhelmingly aware that you exist, that you're a conscious being inside a body, inside a world that is actually real. And it feels both profound and completely terrifying. And then, seconds later, it's gone, and you're just making coffee again. Existential awareness. Neuroscientists call it a metacognitive intrusion. Your brain accidentally stepping outside itself and observing its own operation. Normally, your consciousness runs on autopilot. Identity, continuity, the sense of being you, these happen in the background without your awareness. When existential awareness hits, the background process becomes foreground. You become aware of the machinery that usually stays hidden. A February 2026 paper in Frontiers in Psychology described exactly this phenomenon, the recursive loop where the brain begins monitoring its own monitoring process. This is most common during transitions, waking up, falling asleep, moments of quiet, when the brain's default mode network shifts gear and briefly loses its grip on the autopilot narrative of normal. It lasts seconds, then autopilot takes over again, and you're back to just making coffee. But for those few seconds, you are genuinely, completely uncomfortably awake, more awake than most people are in a week.
Biscuit lives in permanent existential awareness. Everything is always miraculous. The door opening, the food appearing, me existing. Maybe that's the secret.
10 feelings. Sonder, the weight of every stranger's invisible life. Limerence, the obsession your brain pharmacologically engineers. Kyrosclerosis, mourning a moment while you're still inside it. Canopsia, haunted by the absence of people who should be there. The Proust effect, smell that bypasses your mind and goes straight to your past. Monocopsis, belonging nowhere, even in a crowd. Juska, the argument you're already winning in your head. Liberosis, the desperate need to just let go. Existential tenderness, the love you feel for strangers simply because they're alive. And existential awareness, the terrifying, beautiful moment you realize you exist. You felt all of these, probably this week. Now they have names, and named things, as we've said before, lose a little of their power over you. Biscuit just yawned, looked at me, walked away. No Sonder, no limerence, no Jauska, no kyrosclerosis. Just a dog, living his best life. Maybe that's the whole point. And seriously, drop a comment below. Which one hit you the hardest? And does anyone else feel that existential tenderness when watching someone eat? I genuinely want to know if it's just me. New video drops very soon. You really don't want to miss this one.